So with the pre-Rift event for Spiritforged being on the horizon, we are going to be talking about what specifically is in this kit. Now, yes, you get your 5 packs, you get your promo card, but you also get a little aid that has a champion, the legend, and then 12 cards associated with said legend and color combination, as well as a battlefield. Well, there's 6 of those that you possibly are going to get. So what are those legends? What are those cards to help build your deck? Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is a difficult part because as you go about scouring the web to figure out what's even in these pre-Rift packs, it can be a little bit difficult because there's so many different people from Reddit and otherwise that say their opinions on what they think it is and those who actually know. And so all of that information can get a little bit jumbled up, and that makes it difficult. I mean, I had been searching for about 2-3 hours to try to bring you guys a video yesterday, and there was still wrong information. I originally thought that you were going to get a champion, a leader, or a legend, and a battlefield, and then 12 runes in the assorted colors, 6 and 6 each respectively. But actually that is not the case, and upon further review, I was able to find what you were able to get in the pre-Rift Chinese packs to give you that deck. And now, luckily, someone has gone ahead on Reddit and also translated that over into the English cards so that we're able to see. Unfortunately, Rek'Sai is still in Chinese, but we'll do our best to get through that and see what we get to build with. And so, yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing, is that when you go to your pre-Rift event, you're going to be getting a promo card, essentially. Then you're going to be getting 5 packs and a special pack that's going to be having this assortment of cards. So you do get your champion, you do get your legend, and then you get a battlefield, and then 12 cards respectively to that legend and color combination. So who are those legends? Well, we have Ezreal, Irelia, Jax, Lucian, Rek'Sai, and Renata. So some really fun options to be able to try to build with. And the hard part is, with assuming that there was going to be a pre-release event that had just the runes that were included as those 15 cards, I initially did a tier list, but now seeing what's also included, I would maybe even change 1 or 2 of them, namely Jax and Ezreal. I'd be moving around a little bit, but otherwise, I pretty much agree with where the video is. Now, here's the tricky part too, because even after you open your 5 packs, it still might be a little bit difficult to try to build up your deck. I thought 25 cards, it's like, gosh, it's going to be so hard to try to build that up, but even though you're able to use those 3 colors, sometimes it's still going to be hard. I mean, there is also a draft simulator, or a sealed simulator. Sorry, it is a sealed. I keep mixing that up because I call everything a draft. That's my fault. But there is a sealed pre-Rift simulator that you are able to use to kind of help practice, and that link is going to be down in the description below, and we'll be showing that at the end of this video. And so, with that, though, it's going to be really fun to see what you end up getting. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be hoping that with Ezreal, they're able to get the purple Ezreal because, oh man, is he insane. And that is going to be a lot of value in a single card. That's probably going to be also one of the most expensive cards, the new Kaisa, if you will, of set 2. Keep that in mind, but it's the blue Ezreal. So, without any further ado, let's see what is included in these lists. Now, again, just so you know, Ezreal has the legend ability, of saying that draw 1 and use if you've chosen an enemy unit and or gear twice this turn with spells or unit abilities. So already a pretty solid option here, and one to keep in mind. Likewise, though, here are going to be the 12 cards that you are able to use here. First and foremost is Ezreal, which is okay. He's not the worst, but not the best. Being 4 in a power at 3 might, he has the ability of saying that when I attack or defend, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit here, and I don't deal combat damage. Likewise, he then has an action where you sack a blue rune to be able to move me to your base. So Little bit of protection there. Decent card, but a lot of people are kind of confused on how that works. And so it's like if you do end up getting this legend, or if someone new in the gaming sphere or something gets into this, and it's just like I'm kind of confused. Like, am I able to still deal damage and then activate at action speed and get out of there, or do I get to stay and then play the action? And there's a few weird mechanics there with that, and he hasn't even necessarily seen all that much play, or really any at all, in the online and even over in the Chinese tournaments either. So he's kind of an card, but for a sealed event, it could be a lot of fun. Likewise, though, we have Rocket Barrage, which is going to be an all right choice, all things considered, but it is going to be 4 in a power, and you're going to either be able to deal 4 to a unit at a base or kill a gear. And again, it can be repeated, but you're going to be paying 8 and 2 to try to get that going, and that's not all that great. One thing that is really good, though, is going to be Temporal Portal. It is one that you recycle with a power cost, and then it specifically says, give the next spell you play this turn a repeat equal to its cost. Now, per the rules, that also means that you can repeat a spell that is repeatable. So, Temporal Portal might be actually one of the best cards to be able to include in your deck, because then the few spells that you might be able to repeat, well, you can give repeat to a spell that has repeat. So keep that in mind, but you do have to pay it each additional time. So if it has 2 repeats essentially, for example, with Frigid Touch down here, which does have the repeat, that's going to be one that actually says that you would need to pay 6 at that point to be able to get it to go off properly. Also next, Wages of Pain is actually going to be probably one of the best cards to have in this draft. One, it can be hidden. It also creates a gold, which is going to be the main power that is able to be utilized here. Gold means that you're essentially not going to have to shrink your runes out, which means that you're going to be able to continue to get later and later in the game and potentially play more cards out. And so with creating gold, you're going to be able to do a lot there. Plundering Poro is also a great reason for that. It's a 2-drop that you're going to be wanting at the beginning of the game. But Harpoon Squad is kind of I would not necessarily play with that. Whereas on the other end, with Windsinger, it could be a very good card to have, especially in the early game. It can be played as a hidden, and it pretty much is a gust as a unit. I know one of my friends, Tara, has been using this in his Sivir deck, and it's actually put in a lot of work. I've been really impressed with how it's been able to do that. Again, Frigid Touch, if you do get those and you're playing Ezreal, Wages of Pain and Frigid Touch, if you get multiples of those, I would strongly recommend putting those into your deck. They are just going to be absolutely insane. Likewise, Cult Shot is a really good card, but at the same time, it's a little bit lackluster if you don't have the purple Ezreal champion, because Ezreal as the purple is able to mitigate the repeat cost, or really all optional costs in general, but you mainly use that for the repeat costs here. And so that's going to be a really good option here. But again, if you want to repeat it and be able to sack 2 runes, feel free to. But it is going to be a little bit more painful in this specific list here, because you have to sack 2 runes essentially to do that. But again, I would only repeat that if you do end up having a gold. Likewise, Doran Rings, when I conquered, discard 1, then draw 1. Not the best, not the worst, but it is 1 and an ability to equip to add 1, so not the worst. But then also Temptation has repeat on it. Move an enemy unit to a location where there is a unit with the same controller. Again, not necessarily the best, but if you do want to try to take out 2 birds with 1 stone, you might be able to with Temptation and then attack in with a big mighted unit. But there is a big risk with that, and it might not be the best here. Then, of course, we also have Frost Coat Cub, which you may pay 1 as an additional cost to play me. And when you play me, if you paid the additional cost, give a unit -2 this turn. So kind of a frigid touch, and really good to at least get that one trigger off. Then you have to do another one, and you're able to activate Ezreal to draw a card. And then likewise, the one battlefield here, which is going to be a pretty solid one, is going to be Ravenbloom Conservatory, specifically saying that when you defend here, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it is a spell, put it into your hand, otherwise recycle it. This is also a very easy trigger to miss, so one that you definitely need to keep a reminder on, essentially, because when you're defending, you immediately kind of go into the action reactions of things and going into the showdown. But this, like Reaver's Row, has an ability that happens first, and even being able to look at that top card, and if it is a spell, adding it to your hand can be that little bit of a shift that you need, that little bit of an advantage, so that you're able to potentially even win that showdown. If you look and you see Frigid Touch and you add it to hand and you have two runes at the ready, well, that can win you a showdown, especially in this sealed event. So something to keep in mind with that. But still, been really impressed, like I said, with this first deck as a whole. And I really think that if you do get Ezreal, he is going to be one of, if not the best, legends and even pre-constructed decks that you could potentially build from. Likewise, Irelia. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because you do rely a lot on Aurelia's ability being done through things like Unguard and Discipline and things like that. Some good spells. Unfortunately, though, all of that is in set 1, but you still actually get a lot here. I love what they actually give you for Irelia. Now, likewise, what her card specifically says is that when you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me and recycle a rune to ready it. When you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. So, already a pretty good option there. And then likewise, your battlefield, let's actually just talk about that right off the bat here, is going to be Treasure Hoard. Now, again, Irelia is a very power-hungry deck, especially with how you have to target and get things done here. And so it's like, well, if that's going to be the case, well, let's try to make that a little bit better here with Treasure Hoard, which when you conquer here, you may pay 1 to play a Gold Gear token Exhausted. So immediately is going to be making up for all that power, and you're going to want as much gold as you want. I'm talking, let's get some Treasure Hunters in here and hope that we're able to open a lot because they're commons. And if you're able to move around and create some gold, well, then that makes Irelia so much easier to try to manage at this point. Now, on the plus side, you do get a Treasure Hunter right off the bat, which is really good. And then the second thing that you're really going to want in this deck in particular is going to be gear that is able to attach to your units, because that counts as being chosen. So pretty good options right there, but one that you definitely need to keep an eye on in that case. But still, Doran's Ring is going to be a step in the right direction. One card that I've actually really liked that hasn't necessarily seen play with, and I know why it doesn't see play, but I'm still disappointed by it, is going to be Fae Porter. The big reason why is because it says, when I move to a battlefield, you may recycle a purple to move a unit you control to the same battlefield. And so even if you play out like your Irelia or something like that, you move in with the Fae Porter, well, cool, then I'm able to attack in with a unit that I have just played, and that can be a really big swing for you to be able to get things moving. Likewise, we also have Royal Entourage, and that specifically says that when you play me, ready or exhaust a legend. So you're going to be able to maybe activate Aurelia's ability twice and get units readied up by being chosen without actually needing anything to necessarily ready up Irelia, because when you conquer, you can pay 1, but this kind of saves that cost. Though it's an okay card, but again, you very well might be limited in how you're drafting here, which can be a little bit difficult to try to deal around with. Now, I do love Feral Strength because, again, that can immediately get a unit targeted, and it has reaction. Now, or it's at reaction speed, and it can be repeated. So for 2, you're able to give a unit +2 this turn. For 4, you'll be able to do that for 2 separate units or the same unit to give them a +4 buff. That can be a really big difference maker to help you out. Likewise, Lonely Poro, one of my all-time favorite cards here. I absolutely love this guy. I would die for him. He's cute. Anyway, with that, Lonely Poro has just a good death knell ability that says if I die alone, draw one. And so especially in this format where card draw might be a little bit more difficult, he's going to be an absolute include, and if you open up any additional ones of him, feel free to include him because you're going to want to try to get these units taken care of. You're not, and trying to get your deck thin so you can continue to play out units because we don't even have things like Ride the Wind. We have Overzealous Fan, which if you play those, that's definitely going to be one to maybe include to help you hold. Any Guardian Angels, if you pull that, though the rarity is higher, so the odds of you actually pulling one aren't necessarily the best, but if you do, that's going to be good. But otherwise, it's a little bit difficult to see how you would maybe want to go about building this. Now, likewise, we have Ribbon Dancer, which says, when I move to a battlefield, give another friendly unit +1 might this turn. So again, that could be actually one to include. There's no power cost there, so already good. A 3 for 3 that when I move to a battlefield, adds +1 to someone. Again, you could interact that with the Irelia too, which is a great add there. Likewise, you have Boots of Swiftness. That's going to additionally help you to be able to move from one battlefield to another and potentially getting you a lot of points early on. And it really is, it's a little expensive, but you at least get +2, and then it gives ganking. And so for 3 and a power, you're going to be able to really be mobile here. Now, one of the best cards of this set and one of the best things to have in your sealed event is going to be Not So Fast. Now, of course, that can be played at reaction speed, and you counter an enemy spell or ability that chooses a friendly unit or gear. And that pretty much protects everything, especially in the sealed format where you don't have to worry about things from set 1. So, I mean, gosh, keep that in there. I don't necessarily think that there is really too many spells that might shut you down here. But again, if you're going against a yellow deck, they do have the direct kill spells. Not So Fast can immediately take care of that and stop that. And there's a couple of other options in the format that, Not So Fast could be a very great asset for you to use. Again, it's an uncommon, but that's still perfectly fine. If you end up pulling 2, that could be really good for you to include. Likewise, Stellacorn Herder, probably one of the best cards in the deck now. It says that when I move, draw 1, and you're going to be able to utilize that with Irelia extremely well. So keep that in mind because you can continue to just move her around and draw card after card after card, which is going to be absolutely insane. Now, this purple Irelia is a really good option. I do like what she's trying to do here. And it's 4 and 1 power for a 4 might unit. And it says your spells that choose me cost 1 or 1 power less. And so, again, something like Feral Strength could be really good to be able to utilize there. And a couple of other options. Makes it a really good one, and you can keep it out in your champion zone with the Blade Dancer. And I think that she could be a pretty fun option to try to utilize here because of what she's able to do. But again, this is going to drastically depend on the cards that you end up drawing. But still, at least these cards that they include in that is going to be a very nice asset to be able to utilize. Now, of course, next on the docket is going to be Jax. So, for those of you who don't know, Jax's ability specifically says that for 1 and tapping the legend, attach detached equipment you control to a unit you control. Or just for tapping it, you can attach an equipment you control to a unit you control. So it's kind of a great way to save some power. And, on top of that, it's green and orange is already incredibly powerful in this set. So the rest of the cards that you get can be a pretty vital asset for you to be able to utilize. Likewise, you even get the Battlefield of Ornn's Forge here. And that specifically says that while you control this battlefield, the first friendly non-token gear played each turn costs 1 less. Meaning that if you have Hex Drinker, okay, I don't necessarily have to pay, I only have to pay 1 for that. Then not only that, Jax can then come in and equip that for free, essentially, or for 1, kind of thing, depending on how you play that out. So pretty awesome there. You also have a good 2-drop here, Sea Monkey, and then you can pay 1 as an additional cost to play me. When you play me, if you paid the additional cost, buff me. So it can come in for 3. Not the worst, not the best, but when you have something like a turn 2 play and you have a monkey there, you might as well buff him up. can be a really good answer there. Likewise, we have Navori Scout, which has Deflect, and it's a 4/4. So again, no power cost, really good to have. And if you do have things that do have no power cost, it can be something to really help give you an edge, because the last thing that you want to do is to be sacking all of your runes, especially if you're not able to create a lot of gold. And so you got to be careful with that. And also Deflect can be a really nice ability to utilize here. Likewise, we have Combat Chef. It has Weapon Master, so whenever you play me, if you have an equipment that is out and about, you can equip it to him for 1 power less, even if it's already attached. So if you attached something to like a 2-might unit and it's like, dude, I don't want you to have that anymore, you play Combat Chef and he immediately just takes that over for free. Weapon Master can be one of the best assets for you to have, because you don't have to necessarily even wait for the unit to die. It will just immediately transfer over to Combat Chef. So big difference there. Now, Dauntless Vanguard can be good. It says when you play me, you may play me to an occupied enemy battlefield. Now, again, that's going to be 4 and a power for 4. Yeah, it's okay. But if you have something to utilize with it like Thwonk, it can be really good, because Thwonk specifically says that you can stun and... oh, nope. Never mind. I lied. Nope, stun an attacking unit. I thought it was something like the rune spell, which says that you just stun a unit. But nope, stun an attacking unit. So you would be attacking at that in that case. So wouldn't work there. But still, you would try to get in and get things taken care of. Or if there was like a treasure hunter in a battlefield and you can just play him out into that occupied battlefield, could be really good to get you some points. I'm just not necessarily the biggest fan with him. Then you also get some 3 equipments here. You get Doran's Shield, Doran's Blade, and Brutalizer. Now, Brutalizer can be really good too, because if this was attached to me this turn, I have an additional +2. So essentially just for attaching it, you're going to get 3. Really good right there. And then likewise, you have... I'm really actually kind of sad about the Jax that they give you. He's not the worst, but he's not the best. But each equipment you have in your hand has Quick Draw, which is really good. But I also like the other Jax, the orange Jax, that says that when you attach an equipment to him, you can pay 1 to draw 1. I'm just more of a fan of card draw there, and so it can be a really good asset for you to be able to use. But then also, one of my favorite spells here is going to be the one called Strike Down. What that specifically says is choose an equipped friendly unit. It deals damage equal to its might to an enemy unit, then detach an equipment from it. So if it has multiple equipment, you just got to pick one. But if it has just one, it gets separated and detached. But still, you can take out a pretty big threat with Strike Down, and it can be a really good card. Now, you're going to be wanting to watch for additionally some more equipment to potentially use, some low-cost units. They have some really good stuff. Ruin Runner is going to be really good too in this case. And on top of that, even something like Punch First, you're going to maybe want a couple of, because it can make a big difference with Jax. Now, next, of course, is going to be Lucian. Now, he is a really fun legend that has a lot of Weapon Master units to get their equipment attached for free. Again, that's going to be saving you power cost and runes. But one thing that's also really interesting is that Lucian has the ability that your equipment each give Assault, which means +1 might while equipped unit is an attacker. So if you have 3 of the equipments on a single user, they get Assault +3. Not only that, if they have like 3 Doran's Blade, that's going to be 6 added by the equipment alone, and then another 3 for each of the equipment that is added to him. So really good stuff right there. Then likewise, with Sunken Temple, this is going to be one that you might be able to utilize better than your opponent here in this case, because when you conquer here with 1 or more mighty units, you may pay 1 to draw 1. That's a great inclusion. And again, if you have a lot of battlefields that you just can't use in your deck, or you just don't want to, you can always play out a blank battlefield. Something to keep in mind with this. But still, Sunken Temple, you're at least going to have 1 good battlefield to be able to utilize there. Likewise, over here, Larnt Bladekeeper has ganking, and it's a 3-for-3, again, with no power cost. So decently balanced there to at least get something out, potentially a turn 2 play. Same with something like Veteran Poro. If you started with like Serrated Disc and Veteran Poro, then that could be a really good turn 2 combo, because Veteran Poro has Weapon Master. Also, yes, while Punch First does have a high power cost, still being able to give +5 to a unit is going to win you battles, and one that the opponent needs to try to play around. If you're playing orange, it can be very scary. Also, if you're playing a third color and you sneak in some orange, it might be something to really consider there, because it can throw off your opponent greatly. And so that's going to be really fun to be able to see. Then, of course, you have Armed Assailant. Now it's going to be 6 in a power for 6 might, but also can be accelerated, and not only that, Weapon Master. So it's going to be able to grab an equipment and immediately attach it. So if you do choose to accelerate it, that's going to be 7 and 2 power. That's a lot. But if you're going to be making that winning push and you need an equipment added to it, well, that could very well be the thing that you need, because getting over, 8 might can be very difficult in a sealed event. And so something to keep in mind with that, and a great answer. And then if you even have 1 rune up somehow after that, then you can also utilize Punch First to defend and potentially win your game. Likewise, I do love Against the Odds. Now, I do feel like that this is going to be a little lesser unit-heavy field, where, yeah, you're going to have, more often than not, it's looking like you're probably going to have 1, maybe 2 units out at each battlefield. Even with that, though, this guy is a great card. Against the Odds, it can be played at reaction speed and give a friendly unit at a battlefield +2 this turn for each enemy unit there. So if they're trying to create a bunch of tokens with like a Renata style deck where they have some equipment that makes 1 might units, or like an Ezreal style that is able to do the same thing, well, Against the Odds could be something to get the odds into your favor, so that you add a lot of might to be able to clear out that battlefield. Really good there and fun to see. Also love Jim Jam, because Jim Jammer can go really well, for example, with the Lucian champion here, because he basically adds ganking to a unit this turn. So Lucian can get ganking, he can move into a battlefield, conquer it, then he gets readied up after he conquers, and you can go over to the other battlefield and take both. That's going to be 2 points, and unless your opponent has a really good response, you very well could be getting 3 points off of Lucian right there. And so great option to be able to have, and something to consider as you continue to go into this. And again, you get Strike Down, which is really good, and I even like Warmong's Armor, because when it gets equipped and you conquer, you get to buff that unit. So that can be a good option for you to be able to utilize. I don't love Recurve Bow necessarily, but I do really like Angled Shot, especially where, I think we have 2, I think we have 2 of the units, or 2 legends that are going to be equipped heavy. So even including something like Angled Shot could be, again, that little bit of a shift to give you that advantage. For 2 cost at reaction speed, you are going to be able to choose a unit and an equipment with the same controller, attach that equipment to that unit, or detach that equipment from that unit and draw 1. And so you can even use that on your own, but also one of the best things is when a unit attacks in and they have an equipment attached, they're banking on that might to be able to be that difference maker. You play Angled Shot at reaction speed after they've passed priority, and you're just like, all right, well, that equipment is no longer attached. Do you have any other responses? More often than not, nope, they won't. And it's like, okay, cool, thank you. Now, this one's going to be a little bit tougher because this is Rek'Sai, of course. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rek'Sai does say that when you conquer, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and then be able to play one and recycle the other. So pretty good options there to be able to get things moving. And then likewise, you have some really fun options to be able to include here. Now, with this battlefield in particular, it can be a pretty solid battlefield. Let me actually zoom out so you guys can see it. Now, this is Seat of Power, and specifically says that when you conquer here, draw 1 for each other battlefield you or allies control. And so, of course, it does not count itself in that case. But, I mean, it's a great way to, if you have 2 units out, you take the other battlefield first, then you go and attack in on the other one, and it can be a really big difference maker. Likewise, we have some really interesting units to be able to take a look at here as well. Now, first and foremost, I really do love Blood Rush. It specifically is an action that is repeatable for 1, and so what you're able to do is give Assault 2 to a unit. Now, if you repeat that, you can pick a different unit or you can pick the same. So you can add Assault 4, which is a really big swing for 2, or you can add 2 different units, attack into both different battlefields, and have a lot of fun with that. Likewise, we also have Bushwhack, which is one that's been seeing a little bit more play lately. Specifically says that friendly units enter ready this turn, play a gold gear token exhausted. So while it does have a power cost, you are still able to utilize that. Then not only that, I gotta say, I love this bug here. Really awesome option to add in on because it's Void Hatchling. Now, what that specifically does is if you would reveal cards from your deck, look at the top card first, you may recycle it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're able to play it, but you're able to look at it. Do I want this to be one of my top 2 cards? No? All right. Put it on the bottom. Then you're able to look at the 2 with like the Rek'Sai Legend ability, choose to play 1, and then go from there. So again, could be a really good option. Then of course we even have BF Sword. It's a 4. It costs 1 to equip it, and then it adds +3, which can be a pretty big swing there. Then also one of my favorite cards is going to be Drag Under. Now, that specifically is an action, and it costs 2 less to play from anywhere other than your hand, and you get to kill a unit at a battlefield. The nice part about this is you don't have to worry about the fighter flights or anything else to deal with said units at battlefields, so a spell like Drag Under is going to be so much more powerful. Not only that, with Rek'Sai, it's going to be a really good asset to include because, well, I mean, it's just going to be able to kill a unit at a battlefield. If you do get in trouble, maybe not having a high-mighted unit being in that battlefield, awesome. This will take care of that, and then I can move in one of my 2-might units to be able to get there. So a great option to have, and one to definitely keep an eye out on. Now, likewise, the actual Rek'Sai, the Swarm Queen, good to see her, and then with that, her ability is interesting too, because when I attack, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, then recycle the rest. If the played card is a unit, you may play it here. So, and that is a when I attack. So if you have this Rek'Sai already out, you move in, then even before the conquer, you can look and see, hey, am I possibly going to get another unit? This is one combo that I absolutely love running with Rengar, because Rengar can have Assault 2, which makes him a 5 as well for 3 and a power. Really good there in a lot of ways to be able to use that. So I love this as an option. And Rek'Sai could be a really fun deck to consider here to be able to run. There is a little bit of risk. I don't necessarily love yellow in this set. They got some good cards, like what we pointed out, but there's still not like a whole lot here, and you could be falling a little bit far behind. I would be okay with trying it, or keeping it where there is a no power cost in the yellow, and then adding in a 3rd color and making your rune deck for that 3rd color, while keeping the ones that have a no power cost be able to still be used. Likewise, next is going to be Renata. Now, of course, she's going to be our last one, and she could be good. I really hope that she is. I just don't necessarily have a whole lot of faith in her here. Now, she specifically says as a unit here that, or as a legend here, that when you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. And when your score is within 3 points of victory, your gold adds an additional 1. So essentially it can be played for a power and a rune, which is really good, and even just for holding, but still that can be a little bit slow. But in a sealed event, it could be pretty solid. Then likewise, we have this awesome Battlefield Power Nexus, where when you hold here, you may pay 4 power to be able to score 1 point. So again, that can be really good to be able to utilize, but that's a big risk. You're going to be mainly doing that if you are going to be winning that turn, but you got to be a little bit careful with that. Next is going to be Guards. I really do like this card. One, it can be played hidden, so instead of paying 3, you just recycle a rune, and you're able to play a 2-might Sand Soldier token, and you may recycle a yellow to be able to ready it. So, again, though, it could be something to add an additional 2-might to a battlefield, something that your opponent isn't necessarily prepared for, which is really good. I also love Honest Broker because when it dies, it does create a gold, so it can be a really good 2-cost. One thing that I really love when I'm playing Victor also is that I love going Honest Broker and Wages of Pain because a lot of times people will attack in with like a 5 might, a 4 might unit come turn 2, thinking that Honest Broker is just going to be an easy win, and then you play Wages of Pain, it becomes a trade, and you create 2 gold tokens that you're able to use this next turn. So that's going to be a really fun option. Then also I love Chemtech Cash. What that specifically says is that when you play a spell on an opponent's turn, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. So again, can be creating you a lot of really good gold, and you have cards that you're able to hide, such as Wages of Pain or something like Blood Money, which we'll talk about soon. Now, Cloth Armor is one to really sneak up on your opponent. One, it can be played at Quick Draw, which is absolutely insane. And it has Shield too, meaning that it gets +2 might when defending. So that's really good. And definitely one to maybe even consider playing in the Ezreal deck because you can play it at Quick Draw, and having 1 rune up, this can go under the radar, which is why I think it can be such a good card in this sealed event. What that means is that they attack in, you tap 1, play the Cloth Armor, it auto-attaches to the unit, and they just got Shield 2. And again, that might be something that your opponent is not necessarily prepared for, so it could be one to keep an eye on, especially if you want to keep like a Plundering Poro alive early on, score a couple of points with that, you might be able to. Likewise, we have Glass Mixologist. Now, it has a Death Knell ability that you may play a unit with no more than 3 and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. This is going to be a pretty good card to be able to utilize, especially in this format where you're going to be a little bit more hindered by what you have. But I mean, if you're able to get out a 3 might or less unit, could be some really good options there, and one to keep an eye on. And so I gotta say too, I really love Drop Border because when you play me, if you control 2 or more gear, gold is also counted as gear, then you can ready me and he can immediately swing in for 4. So again, there's another 4 for 4 there that can have an accelerated type ability to really get you into this game. Really love how that works out. Then even something like Pickpocket is going to be really good here, and it says that when you play me, you may kill a gear with energy cost no more than 1, and if you do, play a gold gear token exhausted. Now, that's an enemy gear, and that could be really good too because you can also destroy their gold to be able to make a gold. And especially, again, in this format, that could be a pretty good option. And then also with Renata, for example, she's okay, but your tokens enter ready. All right, cool. And so that's going to be the interesting thing. But the nice part with that is that your gold gear is a token, and so instead that can also count, but you're going to be hoping to maybe create a couple of units. I mean, down here too, you're going to be able to play a guards, for example, and it would automatically be coming in with Renata out onto the battlefield. So again, some good options there, but not one that I'm like necessarily writing home about. Then likewise, what I told you guys is we are going to be able to get a quick draft going on. So let's see what that is going to entail. Now, this is Rifty, and it has a really cool feature where if you go up to goodies, you can go to a simulator, and that has a pre-Rift event. Now, as far as I can tell, it doesn't also always auto-include the decks that are included, but it at least opens the 5 packs for you to be able to get some good practice in building. So if you click on that, it lets you know that, hey, you get Play Dancer Irelia, and you can scroll all the way down in this case and see that there's Irelia. We also pulled an Ezreal and a Jax. So something really cool to be able to see. And then we even got a couple of battlefields here. Seat of Power. We also have Sunken Temple. And, we actually pulled some pretty good battlefields, all things considered. And so, yeah, I think I would even like to just include all 3 of those. That's going to be really good. Actually, maybe instead of Seat of Power, just go with the gold there to see, what happens there. Then we can go Irelia there. Also, even Ezreal might be good. So we'll take a look at the cards that we get. But we pulled 3 Irelias. Let me zoom into this. So apparently we pulled 3 Irelias. That's actually kind of insane. Oh gosh, 2 Treasure Hoarders, 1 Overzealous Fan, 2 of the, we are probably going to be including some orange here too. And so even with that, I do like that we have the purple and blue. I'm okay with maybe not including then at this point a legend here and be able to play 3 colors. Now, purple is going to be really good. We're going to be going both treasure hoarders, definitely the gear here. And then not only that, the Overzealous Fan is going to be an auto-include there. And, you know, yeah, let's go ahead and create that. We're already going to be probably creating a decent amount of gold. If you right-click, you're going to be able to see, you know, an up-close card of it. Return a gear to its owner's hand can be pretty good. And then I got to say, I do love orange here. And so I would even try to go blue and purple and orange as my 2 colors here. I love Jax. Again, this is the Jax that I was talking about earlier in the video. When you attach an equipment to me, you may pay 1 to draw 1. Really like that. So we'll add that. We'll include Yone. Definitely going to be including Trinity Force, which says when I hold, score a point. Also adds 2 might. Really good. And then, like I said, there we go with a some good options there. Then likewise, again, do we want the Blade Keeper? Sure, we'll give him the Blade Keeper in this. And we're already at 14 cards of the 25. So we'll take a look at the specific deck list here soon. I do like the Irelias. We can also even include yellow, though I do like that we have 2 of the kill spells and a blade, but I wouldn't necessarily want to. But blue could also even be a pretty good option. One, this is an auto-equip, you know, with this, so we could do that. We also have even a lot of green, especially 2 Poros and a not-so-fast and a Stellacorn Herder, which could be really good, and the other Jax here, too. So again, this actually could be really cool to include the green, though we do have a lot of power costs. I don't know if I want to... I love this ability, but I don't know if I want to include a lot of that there. But still, we can definitely go the Lonely Poros. We can go here. That has no power cost. That's 19 of 25 at this point. Stellacorn Herder. And do we want to actually include that as a not so fast? Likewise, when I hold, you may return a unit or gear from your trash to your hand. That could be really good, and that is also a higher mighted unit. This is really good too, but it also has a power cost, and since with the cards that we got, I would much rather have the power cost, or do we actually have? We have Irelia Graceful as the main option here. Yeah, we could take out Called Shot, but Boots of Swiftness also. We don't have enough ways to create gold, essentially, so I'm a little bit worried about that. Even red, we got some decent equipment and stuff, but I'm not necessarily too enthralled. But blue is very tempting, even maybe over green, but I think we're going to be going green there. Again, this is a very quick build in this case, but let's go that. Let's include these 2 guys. And we are at 25 cards. I think we're actually pretty good there. Maybe even include a Doran's Ring. So we could maybe take out a Guardian Passage. Oh, whoops. Take out maybe a Guardian's Passage there and would go that route. So anyway, guys, but yeah, you get the idea of how this sim can be used. It can be very helpful in trying to get you to get some practice and what to more so expect with this sealed event, because again, it can be a little bit scary sometimes to try to go in, and especially when you're on the clock trying to figure out how do I build these decks. That can be a great answer for you to get some good practice and be a little bit more familiar with the cards there. So we'll see how that ends up going, but we have a lot more information now as to what is going to be expected in these sealed events. And so, yeah, it's looking pretty good, and I'm excited to see what is going to happen here. So what are your guys' thoughts on the 6 structure decks? Are you happy with the 6 that they chose? You can use other legends, don't get me wrong. If you draft other legends, you can more than be able to use those. I still think Sivir is going to be one of the best legends that you have to play, but still, it doesn't come in a structure deck or like in a pre-con help deck in this case. But still, really awesome to be able to see. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments below. And until next time, guys, have a good one.